Don't try to see God, but act in such a way that He wants to see you. A quote by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, a prominent religious scholar and the founder of 64 Gaudiya Matas, or Vedic institutes in India. He is the guru of Srila Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Hello, my name is Malati, and I'm your host on the Impressive Empress podcast, the podcast that explores the inner journey of women in leadership. We focus on personal growth, creating meaningful impact, and empowering others to realize their full potential. Each episode, we dive into the values that shape extraordinary women leaders who lead from within, guided by purpose and a deep desire to serve while gracefully navigating both triumphs and challenges along the way. Today's episode is a journey with a guest, Damodara Priya who embodies calling, connection, and challenge, not just as a seeker, but as a leader and guide for others on a spiritual path. Growing up in a small Swiss mountain village, she felt an early pull towards something greater. She had this longing to know the absolute truth. She joined the University of Bern to study law, but soon realized her true calling lay beyond textbooks. At 25, she took a bold leap, leaving behind her studies to travel to India, where she encountered Buddhism, Hinduism, and ultimately the path of Sanatana Dharma, Bhakti, and ISKCON. Returning to Europe, she didn't just follow devotion, she became a pillar of it. For 24 years, she served in a temple leadership, including 18 years as a head pujari, overseeing sacred rituals, training others in deity worship, and conducting many samskaras as per the Hindu tradition, such as the Simanta Sanskara, the Vivaha Sanskara, and many others. Today, she continues to lead by teaching Bhakti Shastras and mentoring seekers worldwide, making ancient wisdom relevant in modern life. In this conversation, we'll explore what it means to trust your calling, grow through challenges, and share wisdom in a way that uplifts others. Do stay till the end as Damodara Priya is going to share her superpower and her leadership style. Please join me in welcoming Damodara Priya to the Impressive Empress podcast. Namaskaram, Damodara Priya. A very warm welcome to the Impressive Empress podcast, where we are talking to women leaders from across the globe, trying to understand their inner journey to lead the way that they are leading and impacting many lives. I would be very happy to have this conversation with you and understand your personal growth journey. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Malati. I'm very, very happy and honored to be here, to be your guest. I'm trying my best to answer all your questions.
It's going to be a free-flowing conversation, and it's all about you. It's all about you, the individual. But of course, we also like to touch upon the work that you are doing and have done. So, can you please briefly introduce yourself?
So, my name is. There are two names. Yeah, there is the civil name which has been given by my mother and father. This is Doris. And there is a spiritual name which has been given to me by my spiritual master already now 22 years ago. So that means a long, long path of spiritual practice is already behind me, and an even longer path probably is ahead of me. But this is my heart's calling, as you ask for the inner journey. It was with age 25 when I felt that calling inside to travel to the land of wisdom. I had no contact so far with India, but with around 18 years, I started to ask myself about the absolute truth. What is the absolute truth? And that time I was in contact with a person who, according to my understanding, was very learned. Very learned. We had many, many long talks together, and he told me, I considered him as an authority, as authoritative in answering my questions. So I asked him, what is the absolute truth? And he told me, the absolute truth is not existing. You have to have your own absolute truth. And I was thinking, how is it possible? Then the absolute truth is relative. It's not absolute. If everybody can have his own absolute truth, what's about absolute? No, then it's only relative. So this answer did not truly satisfy my inner calling. And it still went on for 6-7 years until I took the decision. That time, with age 25, I was studying law. I was also working half time and half time studying, and I quitted my studies on the day when my boss, actually, I was working with the Swiss government in a very well paid secretary job, and he wanted me to have for a very important post after my studies finished. And on that day, when he offered me that post, I told him, "I'm very sorry. I just quitted my studies, and I'm now packing my stuff and I'm going to India to look for the absolute truth." And he was thinking, oh my God, what happened to her? Not only he, my mother also. No? Can you imagine? 25-year-old girl. I grew up in the Swiss mountains in a 500 inhabitant village. All of a sudden has the idea to go to India. You know better what that means. Then I had no idea, no? And a fully greenhorn. Yeah. So, but I felt that call very strong, very, very strong. I could not overhear it. I could not ignore that calling. Although I was afraid, I was severely afraid. Can you imagine? I had medicine in my backpack for 300 Swiss francs. 300 Swiss francs medicine. For all eventualities, I bought medicine. No? I was thinking, oh my God, India, it's not only the land of wisdom, it's also the land of whatever comes across, and it's full of dust. So I was highly afraid. I'm quite of an anxious person. But instead of my anxieties, still I had that strong determination, that the deep calling, I have to go there and I have to look for the absolute truth. There I will find an answer on it. I asked my friends all around. Nobody was able to take off from their jobs, from their studies, because I intended to go for 4 months. That's not nothing, no? That's, yeah.
So you said you had this very strong inner calling.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about that inner calling aspect? How did you actually hear the noise? Because in the Western paradigm, it's always ignore your inner voice. But in the Indian paradigm, we say listen to your heart, listen to the voice that guides you. So, how were you able to distinguish between the two and embark on this very transformative journey?
I guess there is where my determination comes in. I'm very strong-minded. When I have an idea in my mind, my mother can confirm that. And I just go for it. And many years later, an astrologer once told me that I'm very, very strongly following my goals. And especially the spiritual goal. It is like set for me in my chart. I cannot but follow it. So now I understand. That time I didn't know, but now I understand it was the Lord in my heart calling me to come. That time I didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness. I didn't know anything about all this Shastra, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and I had no idea. I didn't get in contact with Krishna consciousness yet in the West. Actually, it was also not my desire to get in contact with Hinduism. Because once I was in India, I understood, my God, so many gods. Yeah, so many. Now, even I know it's 33 million gods. Which one is then the absolute one? No? I was fully confused. And I went to Dharamsala at the bottom of the Himalayan mountains. And I spent 6 weeks there with the Dalai Lama. This is like exile Tibet, no? Where the Dalai Lama took refuge when he left Nepal. 6 weeks I spent there and I listened to his lectures. And it was my intention to enter the Buddhism kind of path. But I didn't get access. No doors opened. And I felt that was probably in my last life. In this life, I have to find access to what I call now Krishna consciousness. And it was during this 4 months travel where I got in touch with devotees who brought me to Vrindavan Dham, to Krishna Balaram temple, to Banki Bihari. And there my curiosity started to awaken on the fact that I bought 2 books, Krishna book and Bhagavad Gita. Krishna book is like all the stories of the Lord, what is told in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto in a comprised version in one book only.
I would like to ask you about your first entry into India. Did you have any Indian friends or Indian swamis who visited your village? You listened to them and therefore you decided to go to India. What made you decide that you have to go to India of all the places? Have you been there before as a tourist or something? Or did anyone tell you about India?
Nothing. Not in this life, I have to say, not in this life. But many on the past 22 years told me that in my past life, I was there in India. And I can tell you, when I put my foot on the ground in India, I actually flew to Madras, to Chennai. It felt like coming back. It felt like coming home. I felt so at ease in India. Life is so easy, like just very simple life, very practically everything arranged, and the thoughts of the saintly persons very deep, very deep. But I had no clue how to get access to an answer on my question. Actually, it was my desire to meet with with Mother Teresa's Sister of Misericords. It's, I don't know in English, Schwestern der Nächstenliebe. It's in German. Not in Calcutta, that was a too big city for me. It was some travel agent who told me, you better go to Madras. Madras is quite Western oriented, no? You will feel easy. You can go around easy there. So it's an easy entry into India. So that's what I did. It was like that. Actually, these Mother Teresa's sisters, I wanted to meet them in Bangalore, not in Madras. So first day already, I took a train, a 5 hours trip to Bangalore. And I didn't eat in the train because I was so much afraid to get sick of what they serve. I didn't know, is it clean? Can we take it? Yeah, I mean, it's a long story. I can tell you about tourists in Bangalore at the railway station. When the electricity went off, I was so much afraid. I didn't know, is it a terrorist attack now going on or what's going, because I had no idea of India. I didn't know that electricity is going off and on. That's normal, no? So it was all dark when I reached at 10 o'clock in the night. I reached Bangalore railway station and the electricity was off. But I saw 2 Westerners on the platform and I approached them, asked them for help. And they told me, sorry, they cannot. I asked them actually if I can follow them in their hotel. And they told me they are not staying in Bangalore, they are going further. But they met one very nice person in the train. He can also help me. That was Mr. Krishnan. Immediately, first day, I got introduced to second day, that was already, got introduced to a person called Mr. Krishnan. He arranged in the middle of the night for a room in a hotel His son brought me there on the backpack of his bike, the back seat of his bike. And he arranged for 2 meals, vegetarian meals, because he didn't know what I like. And he saw I'm very hungry. And he told me, next day I will come with my son to your room, 10 o'clock, and we will discuss your plans.
Mm.
And
Yes.
and he came the next day. And I was a bit afraid, I have to admit, the Indian traffic. He put me in a hotel room on the 7th floor of a high hotel complex. And I was looking down on the street and I saw like 2 lines, but the cars were driving 4 lines. And then the cows are there and the people and the bikes and the bicycles and the rickshaws. I was thinking, how is it possible for me coming from the mountains to cross the street? Yeah. So I told him, although I feel I'm quite comfortable, but still I feel actually I will have difficulties to get along here. So don't worry, I will better go back to Europe. And he said, no, you came from so far, you have to stay. I invite you to our house. It's in Calicut in Kerala. You can come there and I will introduce you. And can you imagine? Never so far I did what I did that day. After 2 hours later, I sat with this, for me, completely unknown person in a 9 hours bus ride through the jungle from Bangalore to Calicut. But I felt completely safe. Completely safe. And I felt somehow this is what I should do. I felt like carried, like a child carried in the Lord's hands. I had that strong faith that it's okay, it's good. If something would have been wrong, I would have recognized it. Very sensitive. I can feel if people mean well or if they are kind of trying to betray one, to have bad intentions. And I asked all my questions about the absolute truth to that person. He was a retired English professor, and his hobby was arranging pilgrimage tours. And he got tears in his eyes on that bus ride. And I didn't know why. And I asked him, is it because the bus has no windows? The air was coming in and maybe it hurts his eyes. And he said, no, that's not the reason. It's because of your questions. You come from so far. You come from Europe. You know, everybody wants to go to Europe. There is a lot of richness. There can earn so much money, and life is so wonderful and comfortable there. And you take this discomfort to come to India, and you want to even know about our gods, about our philosophy and religion. He couldn't believe. He was deeply touched, no?
I'm
And I
sure.
understood.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Anyone would be so deeply moved by such a question from a young woman coming all the way from Europe. That was really very, very courageous on your part. But even though you were, like you said, you were scared and you had so many medicines worth 300 francs of those days must have been quite a lot.
A lot, yes.
But I think your faith, your inner calling kind of kept you going.
Yes. That was actually 26 years ago. And now, right now, I'm again in Kerala, now near to Calicut, sitting in Guruvayur. And we went to Guruvayur that time, 26 years ago. And I'm kind of that path, no, which I walked on my first journey through India. And I can see things from a complete different perspective now, because now 25 years of spiritual practice are behind me. That was the moment, this first 4 months traveling through India, that was when I set my roots into spirituality. And I made that commitment to walk that path. And I understood. I went back after 4 months with Bhagavad Gita in my backpack. And I understood this is here I will find actually the answer on my question, on my search about the absolute truth.
But your 4 months in India, you explored Buddhism, you explored a little bit of Hinduism. But in those 4 months itself, did you decide on taking the path of ISKCON? Or did you get drawn to the path of Bhakti?
Not yet. Not yet, actually. I had Bhagavad Gita in my backpack, which was translated by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So an ISKCON influence was there already. I came back to Switzerland and actually I started to study theology because I wanted to know about God. And after a short period, our professor told us those who believe in God, these are sentimentalists. And that was the day when I left university. Because for me, God was never a question. It was never a question if God exists or not. That was for me completely clear. Even as a child, I grew up being a Christian, and I always prayed very deeply every evening. Even I prayed to Lord Jesus Christ to please use me as an instrument in your hand to spread God consciousness. And I see it very clearly as the logical consequence of these prayers that I connected with Krishna consciousness. And now I'm doing what I was asking for. I'm now spreading the Lord's message. So, what I did, I quitted university and I took Bhagavad Gita and I went to ISKCON temple in Zurich. I knocked at the door and I asked them, the first person who opened, I was a little bit afraid because I was thinking, what's this for strange people? No, they're running around with colored bed sheets and singing the whole day. I was completely into studies. I couldn't believe that the path of singing the holy name could be a serious path of God realization. Couldn't believe. I was too much into, we say, gyan, no? Knowledge. So the first person who opened, I asked, please, can you explain me what is there written in Bhagavad Gita? Because the first chapter, is all about setting the scene with all these different complicated names. I had no idea. What is it? It's a philosophical book, but where to find an access to it? And he told me, if you want to know that, you have to go to Vrindavan. There is an institute for educating people into Bhakti Shastras, into the scriptures about devotion, about Bhakti. So it was 1 year later when I sat again in the airplane and I flew back to India. That time to Delhi, took a taxi to Vrindavan. It was not my desire to become an ISKCON devotee that time. I just wanted to know what is it in this book. Please, someone tell me. Someone explains to me. And the management of the school was a little bit doubtful if they should accept me or not. And they told me, okay, you can join, but you have to come every day for Mangal Artik. Mangal Artik starts at 4:30 in the morning. My God, so early. Every day for 4 months. The course was for 4 months. And you need to recite the Hare Krishna Mahamantra on the prayer beads. A certain amount of rounds, 16 rounds. Oh my God, so much. No, I will have whole day, no time for studies. And you will have to put tilak on your nose, wear kanti beads. Okay, I was so much determined to find out about the absolute truth that I did all that, which I actually didn't so much liked in the beginning. But can you imagine, after 4 months, in the dust of Brindavan, that time, 26, 25 years ago, there was really still dust paths in Brindavan. Nowadays, you can find only skyscrapers and cars blocking the streets, and the sadhus disappeared from the scene, sadly, no? But that time, you saw the sadhus all around, and I just have a strong attraction for a life of a monk. strongly the call in me, this is what I want to do. And after 4 months, I was so much impregnated by the dust of Vrindavan that I just wanted to stay in Vrindavan and to continue to chant. I chanted many more rounds than 16 that time. I mean, it just was just flowing. It was coming on its own. And then actually that person who sent me to Vrindavan called me, told me, now you can come back and you can, what we say, do a novice course in our temple in Zurich. I told him, now I just studied Bhakti Shastras, now I should do a novice course. You know, this usually the other way around. Yeah? First you learn the basics, then you go to study the books. But I studied already the books. I have the basics. Now why I should now go and study the basics? But somehow he convinced me to come back. And that was the one step I actually a little bit, how to say, regret. My life would have become different had I chosen to remain, to stay in Brindavan. But I went back to Switzerland. I was staying 3 months in the temple in Zurich. I went through one more course, in this novice course. And there, actually, I saw a picture of Shishi Radha Madan Mohan from Golokadam, Germany. And I asked the devotees, who are they? Because in Brindavan, ISKCON temple, I got attracted to Radha Shyam Sundar. Beautiful, beautiful Radha Shyam Sundar. Radha and Krishna. I could stay in front of them the whole day and chant and chant and chant. I felt so much attraction to them. And in Zurich, they have Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and Shishigonitai on the altar. And I was missing Radha and Krishna. I was missing Vrindavan. But then I saw this photo of Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Krishna deities. And they told me these deities are in Germany, in Golokadam, near to Mainz. And it was clear to me I have to go there. Once this novice course ended, I packed my stuff and I traveled to Abenteuer. Abenteuer in English means adventure. That is the name of the village, no, where the temple is. I couldn't believe that the village has the name Adventure. But I felt I need to go there. And I came.
What was the reaction from your parents for this adventure of yours?
My mother was scared, very scared, because she was thinking, now she's in a sect. She's going the wrong way. She even sent a priest to talk to me. And she got calls from her friends and relatives telling her, oh, this is not good, this is not good. And she was very afraid. My father, he was the opposite. He supported me fully. He understood this is the path. He was able to understand my inner calling. I very much inherited that calling from him. He also had that calling, but somehow, due to the circumstances in his life, he was never able to truly follow it. But he strongly believed in God. So yeah,
you seem to have this divine connection all the time.
Yeah, it was
And
there.
You're also feeling it very strongly.
See, my father wanted to give me the name Dorothea. Doris is an abbreviation of Dorothea. And Dorothea is a Greek name, which means the one who is God given. So from childhood on, I had the desire to become a nun, to live in a monastery, to pray, to find the path to the Lord. And in my childlike way, I tried to be God conscious. But I found the world everything else than God conscious, and I felt misplaced. I was thinking, he's not a place for me. I felt like somewhat, I landed in the wrong place, no?
But in this material world, where as you were going through your teenage and the early days, it's only natural but to have a partner in life. So if I don't know if you had such thoughts, but if not, you would have been perceived to be kind of strange, lacking something. It
I
must have
didn't
been a
mind.
real challenge at that age, right?
See, I was happy with books. I was a book lover. I was reading books. I was living in a shared apartment with two boys. There was just no thought of attracting between male and female. It was just not in my scope. See, I came from the Swiss mountains. I had never any relationship with the man in that sense. That was just not my intention. From the beginning on, I was just looking for some deeper meaning in life. I remember once I told to my schoolmates, I was around 16, 17 years old. I told them, I don't want to follow a job from morning till evening until age 64 and then die on a heart attack. This is not what I expect from life. There must be something deeper. I was looking, I was searching, I was reading many philosophical books to find out deeper meaning of life. That was always my focus, not to find partner and to go in discotheques. I hated to go in discotheques. Maybe in my life I was twice there, but it was full of smoke. I never smoked. I never drank. It was funny. Some time ago I was in education where I learned to care for elderly people, and the teacher wanted to make an example about alcoholism, and he said, all of you remember the moment when you were drunk once. And I told him, very sorry, I was never drunk. He just looked at me with big eyes and he smiled and he said, don't worry, remain as you are. It was just not part of my experience. No?
Were you considered normal by your friends and peers?
Didn't fully get you.
Were you kind of considered normal by your friends, or were you considered a strange person who doesn't drink, who doesn't smoke, who doesn't have a boyfriend at that age?
See, I chose my friends who had the same wavelengths as I had.
Lucky you.
Yeah, and there were always friends around. I remember once we had a group of four friends. We went hiking and we had a boat where we went in the nature. We slept in tents and yeah, adventurous life, no? But nothing with partnership. That was just not relevant to me. Even this coming together and walking through nature, that was always with a philosophical book in the backpack. And we were sitting together and reading and discussing philosophy always. That was always the center.
Now that you have been in this movement for the last 20 plus years, have you found the absolute truth and the deeper meaning of your life that you have been seeking?
I have definitely found the deeper meaning of life, but if I said I would have found the absolute truth, that would mean that my spiritual journey would end here. Because as a spiritualist, one remains a searcher always. If we say this is the absolute truth, then it becomes stagnant. It becomes a dogma. We form kind of walls which avoid our further growth.
Very interesting. Yeah.
So,
So okay, let's probably continue on this path that you took to go to Abenteuer in Mainz, and there I understand that you studied to become a pujari, a priestess. That is
yeah, actually, since I finished in Switzerland a commercial apprenticeship before I entered university. They wanted to take me there in Abenteuer in the temple as a secretary. And the first day when I arrived, I still remember I was sitting in the room where we serve prasadam, and the head priest approaches me and asks me, "Do you want to become a helper of the pujaris?" And that was, wow, I was allowed to help the priests. That was something unimaginable, no? And I was a definitely, I want, because this is very close, so much close to Radha and Krishna, no? You get in touch with the paraphernalia, with their clothes, their dresses, their plates from where they eat. Yes, definitely. This is much more attractive than to sit in the office and to type in the computer. No? And I tell you, I never put even a toe into the office. Never. From day one, I was in the pujari room. And I learned everything from zero on. All the different paraphernalia. I know how to handle, what is their meaning, what is how to apply them. I learned all the mantras. I learned everything. And that was actually in the year 2000. In the year 2008, I became the head priest. I was still very young and unexperienced, but the situation was such that the head priest left the place, and with the empowerment of my spiritual master, I took that challenging post. And actually, 1 year later, 2009, I went to Sridham Mayapur. This is at the banks of Mother Ganga, near to Calcutta. And I went there for 4 months in a Pujari training course. And after that, also for 3 years, we invited the head Pujari of ISKCON Vrindavan every year for 2 weeks to come to Golokadam to teach me how to perform sanskaras. Because in India, it's not at all custom that ladies perform sanskaras. I learned how to conduct a Vivaha sanskar. I learned how to conduct an Annaprashna ceremony or a Namkaran sanskar. All of that. And I did not learn it just because I had to. I learned it because I felt again this inner calling to do that. I felt that need, that this is what I want to do, this is what I want to go, this is where I can connect with the Lord. By becoming an instrument in His hands and helping others to also connect with the Lord through all these Vedic sacrifices. This is how I learned, how I got trained to become a priest and a pujari, and I remained actually in the ashram as a nun. As a brahmacharini is not really existing, that word. And in India also it's not existing that ladies become nuns. They remain at home until they marry. But our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, he arranged for ladies in the West because he understood in the West the ladies are independent-minded. So he arranged that they also can stay in an ashram. Separated, of course, from the Prabhus, from the brahmacharis. And I remained there for 18 years as a nun. And in these years, I learned a lot. I studied a lot the scriptures, and I started to teach. 2010, I started to teach deity worship. 2015, I started to teach Shastra, philosophy. Yeah. On place and online. And since last year, I'm mainly teaching. That's also, again, the inner calling I cannot otherwise than share whatever jewels I got from the past 25 years, to share that with others, because to me it's extremely inspiring, extremely enlivening. And I feel that deep conviction, this is what I was looking for. And when I walk this path, surely I will reach the goal, the understanding of what the absolute truth really is. Once a friend told me, if you go to the desert and you are thirsty, you start digging for water. And you go to one place and you dig only a little bit and you say, no, here is no water. I go to another place and I start digging there. After a while again, you say, no, there is no water. I go to another place. You will never find water. But once you feel this is the path, then you stay and you go deep, and for sure, at one moment in time, you will find what you're looking for. You will find water, or what I was looking for, or what I'm looking for, the absolute truth. And this is still my aim. This is my determination. This is my goal. And luckily, actually, Krishna gave me a wonderful husband who has the same aim. 7 years ago, I entered the Grihastha ashram. I married, and also with a Vivaha Sanskar. My Yagya teacher, my Sanskara teacher, made the Vivaha Sanskar for us. That was necessary for me because I have a very critical mind. Since I know myself how a Vivaha Sanskar has to be performed, I had to have a priest who knows, who does it the way I do it. And that's only my teacher. So, yes. And my husband, he is even more focused in his spiritual practice than I am. We are supporting each other. We are helping each other to move on our eternal journey towards our ultimate destiny. This is what we call Sanatan Dharma. We have nothing or not so much to do with Naimitic Dharma. We are fully focused only on our eternal Dharma, Sanatan Dharma, our eternal relationship with the Lord. And this is what is my deep aspiration, to share that with others.
Very, very nice, very divine journey that you have had with courage and faith, seeking to find the deeper meaning of life. And I'm very glad that you have found yours. But as you mentioned, you took a path of a priestess, which is not very common. So, how are you managing it along with the modern way of living?
The modern way of living was never so much my way. We live very simple, very, very simple. We live in a temple in Singhajalang. This is in near to Passau in Jandelsbrunn, where we are worshipping Lord Nishingadev. In a little apartment, 36 square meters, very, very small. Srila Prabhupada, he had the saying, simple living and high thinking. It's not about creating an opulent living space. It just takes time to keep it clean, to protect it, that no one breaks in and steals something, and keep it functioning. Things may break, and always one is occupied in taking care of this material element, which is meant to dissolve at one moment in time. So not to invest in a comfortable living. Necessary things need to be there. One has to have a certain comfort. But more important is the absorption. Where is our consciousness? And with the living circumstances, I did not have so many difficulties. Since I was living for 18 years as a nun in a temple, I had just one little room. I never desired more. I almost had no clothes. When I married, I first had to buy a few clothes like pants and skirts, pullover like that, shirts, because I was just dressing for 18 years in sari. I had nothing else. Once a godbrother of mine invited me to go to Bulgaria in one hotel to make a holiday, and he said, "This is at the beach. You need to bring your bathing suit." But as a devotee, we are used to bathe in sari. We are not dressing in bathing suits. That's just not. You see, the Indians, they bathe in. Now we are here in Kerala at the beach, Guruvayur. The Indians, they don't have this bathing culture to dress in bathing suits. They go with their clothes. And this is also what I learned. And then my godbrother told me, but you need to buy a bathing suit. You cannot come there. It's a touristic place. You have to come in a bathing dress, no? And that was a bit strange to me. Really a bit strange. But anyhow, I also survived that experience. More difficult for me was actually, or still is, when I'm called for a performance of a sanskar, and it's for an Indian congregation, and they are making big eyes. A lady priest? This is not possible. What she can do, no? The couple who wants the sanskar, with them I always discuss meet before, and for them it's always no problem. Yes, lady priest, no problem. But they're friends, they don't know. They're just invited for a Simantonayan sanskar, and they come. They see a lady is sitting on the fire. This is a little bit challenging.
How do you explain your situation to them?
I explain, and when I start speaking and explain the situation and also start to perform the function, then their mood changes. They understand, yes, she's knowledgeable. She knows what she's doing. But still, I personally feel that these functions are more for men, not for female. I'm tending more towards the teaching of such sacrifices than to perform them myself. This is more my intention, because the devotee amount in Germany is increasing. Many families are there, many children are there, and they need these sanskaras. Many Indians come to Germany, want to have these sanskaras, but priests are very few only. So it's my intention also to help increasing the amount of priests who are qualified to perform these sanskaras. No?
So, do you already have some people whom you are guiding on this journey?
Sure. Last year I had 2 courses. And these courses, since it's quite of a complex subject, it takes 3 weeks fully to learn. Mm-hmm. There were altogether 15 students who are learning to perform, who went through the course. And I'm keeping them on track, follow up with them, what's going on. And one of 2 of them, they picked it up and they are now into performing their own sanskaras. One even surpassed me. He's doing better than me. That's the best. He was my first student, and I'm very, very proud of that one, that he is going into the subject even deeper than what I'm able to share. So this is actually what is most pleasing to me, when I see that it's enhancing their practice, it's helping them to advance, then that is the most satisfying to me.
So, what is the criteria for anyone to join these courses? Should they be following the ISKCON Sampradaya? Or can anyone join? Can only girls join? May boys join? What age? Can you share some details on that?
Definitely, they must be vegetarian. Most important, they must be vegetarian, because they come in contact with fire. They call the Lord and they ask the Lord for blessings. That needs the proper lifestyle. It needs a God-conscious lifestyle, actually, to be able to perform such a function properly. and not to make it just a child's play. Everybody can ignite the fire, Om Bhur Swaha, offer some ghee into the fire, no problem. But that it really has an impact. It's actually the spiritual practice of the priest what makes the function work, what gives the depth of the function, what gives the impact. That is required. Definitely 100% vegetarian lifestyle, not just for the duration of the function, but full lifestyle of purity, which involves no meat, no fish, no eggs, no alcohol, no intoxications, no illicit sex, no how to say Glücksspiel,
Lottery?
lottery. Yes, yeah. These principles have to be followed nicely. This gives the purity of consciousness, plus a certain amount of prayers on the beats, on the japa beats. Hare Krishna Maha Mantra needs to be there so that priest becomes qualified to perform a function. And he needs to have, of course, a Brahminical background, Brahminical initiation. The Brahminical initiation qualifies a person to perform such functions. And that requires a spiritual master who is following or who is walking with that person and observing that person's lifestyle and purity and consciousness, and can also decide on the person's qualification. And if the spiritual master sees that person is ready, he is giving him the Brahminical initiation. So there is a certain requirement. It's not for everyone, but it also has, of course, a great importance in society. Therefore, also a certain high expectation, qualification for such a service is required. It's not something cheap. But learning can be done by anyone who has the desire. And then, if that person feels attracted, he can work to come up to the level of receiving Brahminical initiation. And then he can go and perform his own sanskaras.
It's definitely a journey that
It's a journey.
one has to. It's not just during those 3 weeks of the course, but it's a commitment for a lifetime.
Sure.
To see it.
Sure.
But what are the challenges? You seem to have a kind of a vision for what is to come in your life. Do you see any challenges in actually going through the daily motions of your life?
Definitely, there are challenges. See, I see my life as a journey of purification, and the challenges are the impurities which pop up. How to perceive the impurities. I may give you an example. There was an incident some time ago happening which I never was thinking possible. One of my best friends turned practically into an enemy. And it hurt me so much that I cried and cried and cried. And I couldn't understand what's going on. These are my challenges. There, my feelings got hurt. My understanding got shaken. And it took me a long time to understand that. Maybe you heard about Radhanath Maharaj, a very influencing spiritual teacher who is traveling all over the globe. Once he mentioned, don't blame the instrument of your karma. This is my challenge to understand. That seemingly friend to me became an enemy, but this is on the, let's say, material platform. Friends and enemies are existing only on the material platform. But my aspiration is to develop a vision which is spiritual. On the spiritual platform, there is no friend and enemy. There is only soul. The souls are all of the same constitution. Sat Chit Ananda. Friend and enemy is a concept that exists only in our mind. But due to our impurities, we judge when we look outside. This is friend, this is enemy. This is because of some impurities which are still there. These are my challenges. To understand that that person who turned into an enemy is not my enemy, but actually she was used by the Lord's hands to give me some reactions on my past misdeeds. So it's not up to me to think bad of her or to be angry on her. No, rather, I have to be grateful to her that she became that instrument in the Lord's hands. See, these are my challenges to learn these lessons.
The challenges of the mind are just so many, so infinite. And you explained it so beautifully, talking about moving beyond the material world into the spiritual realm, where we can actually enjoy the bliss. But to go there, we need to clean ourselves of all these impurities. Very beautiful. But to close this, what is the kind of advice that you would give someone who feels a similar pull or a similar calling and would want to take up a spiritual path but not sure how to begin, where to begin? What would be your advice to such a person, to a seeker?
It all starts with prayers.
Sorry, I didn't.
It all starts with prayers. Yeah. A sincere heart is guided by the Lord. If a desire for a spiritual path is there, then such a person should start to pray to the Lord. It was when, in one point in my life, I was still studying law, and in Bern, capital of Switzerland, and I didn't know what to do. I was kind of stuck. I didn't know. I was looking for the absolute truth, but I didn't know how to find an answer on it. And I just sent a prayer into the universe. Please, my Lord, show me the path. And some days later, I met devotees on the way who gave me prashanam. This is sanctified food, which is a beginning, which is helping the person to become purified in the mind, to understand about God. This was for me a sign God heard my prayers and He shows me the path. So, prayers are a very, very powerful instrument. Actually, our most important instrument, strongest instrument to get in contact with the Lord. The Lord will reciprocate because He's sitting in our heart. He's sitting there and He's just waiting for that moment when we turn to Him. And then once He sees our awakening, He will arrange everything that we come in contact with Him. From that moment, it's kind of automatic, no? But it has to start from us. It has to start with our prayers.
So this is so beautiful. I would just like to wrap it up with a rapid fire round that I always ask. I'm just so filled with love and devotion listening to you. I could be sitting here all day long, but with all good things do have to come to an end, and so should our interview. Are you ready? What's your favorite thing about your job?
First of all, it's not a job. It's not a job. It's in German we say Berufung. A job is something you do like 8 hours a day and then you go for your hobbies. No? I do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay. This is my life and soul.
You used to work as a head priest and now you're working to teach more people, take up the role of performing different sanskaras. what is the one word that would best describe your leadership style?
It's probably, it's difficult to put it in one word, but it could be described with sharing the heart or opening the heart.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What is your superpower?
Superpower?
Mm-hmm.
Superpower. See, I myself, I'm nothing. I'm powerless. My superpower is like the connection to the supreme personality of Godhead. It's like my spiritual master connects me with the whole line of spiritual teachers, and it goes up to the Lord. And this is where the power comes from. This is an eternal powerhouse. It's always available. I just need to plug in. And how do I plug in? It's by becoming conscious that I'm only an instrument in the Lord's hands. What can I do? If the instrument is not picked up and applied, I'm useless. No? This is my superpower. It comes from above.
So, what is the one core message that you would like to share with our listeners? The message that you received from your mentor or your spiritual master that has been your guiding light in your life?
Become authentic. Follow the call in your heart. Become a seeker. Become a seeker. Don't be satisfied with normalities, thinking this is the way it has to be. Have courage to walk a path which is maybe not so common, but it's your path. And you would regret something if you don't take it up. And if it's serious and sincere and authentic, then the Lord is there to guide everyone on that path.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, understanding your life's journey from Switzerland to India and back to Europe. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Manati, for taking time to invite me for this podcast. I'm very, very honored and very happy to have that talk with you.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining us on this inspiring episode of the Impressive Empress podcast. We hope today's conversation sparked something within you, whether it's the courage to follow your own calling, deepen your connection to your own self, or embrace the challenges that lead to growth. Remember, your journey is unique and every step brings you closer to the power within. Stay tuned for more such meaningful conversations by subscribing to the Impressive Empress podcast on your favorite podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, or anywhere else. And do leave a rating and a review. Your feedback would be the inspiration that we need to bring more such inspiring stories to you. Got a question that you want me to ask our next guest? Do write to me at empress at Bhogya.online. That's EMPRESS at BHOGYA.online. Until the next time, stay empowered and keep embracing your inner transformation. This is Malati, and this is the Impressive Empress podcast.